Hey up everybody and welcome back. Alright, we're going to carry on and do the last few things, sort of cycle parts. Front mudguard, which I'll explain to you because I've had 2 or 3 different ideas and scrapped each one, so I've now settled not only on the one I like but the one that's got the least amount of work. So I'll show you that, and also I've been doing a little bit of painting, more or less the last little bit of painting. So there's our oil tank. So we can put the oil tank, that centre panel in, so we can put the switch in there, etc. So get all that finished, get the front mudguards on. So I'll have to paint before the mudguard stays, but that's minor. And then next week we should be able to start on the engine, and when we get to that there's a couple of things to go over, so I'll leave that till then. Alright, what else? Well, we're still chugging along with new subscribers. I think now we're over 7,500, which is stunning. So as before, thank you very much for all that. Thank you for all the comments. Hope you'll enjoy. This is salt wagons going out because we've got a couple of inches of snow. What else? What was I saying? Oh yeah, subscribers. So thank you very much, and as you'll find, I try to keep this as informed as I can. It's literally just you looking over my shoulder. So speaking of subscribers, we've got quite a lot of comments. Well, we're getting a lot of comments every week, but we got quite a lot of comments last week. And as always, you're very eagle-eyed. One person noticed that I hadn't put a wire in for the backlight, which I thought of myself. It's surprising how many times when I get a comment, which is actually on the Sunday, because generally I finish the videos a little bit earlier, people will mention things that have suddenly struck me, and I thought, oh shoot, I've got to do something about that. So there was a few things about that with the electrics. A couple of people mentioned that I didn't have the 3 wires for the headlight bulb right. That looking at them, that top one isn't the earth. Apparently the earth is the side one, and the top on one side are the 2 filaments. But that's minor because they will just switch over. The other thing that a couple of people mentioned that suddenly struck me, you remember the diagram with the power pack showed the earth wires going right back to the power pack and not to sort of earth. Well, I had that sudden blinding inspiration that a few other people started, wait a minute, if I've wired it up that way, how's the horn going to work, because I'm taking that to earth through the handlebars. So I actually phoned Electrics World just to be on the safe side, and they said, well, yes, you can earth it through the frame, but like myself, they don't like you to do that. So the wiring diagram basically was the way they preferred you to do it. So I can run a little earth off that earthing loom to the handlebars itself, maybe from the headlamp. So I've got to look at that. So that's solved. And that's it for bits and pieces before we start. So let's go and look at the front mudguard. Front mudguard. As you can see, I've started doing some little bits to it. Heating's on because, as I mentioned, snow, cold, etc. Although actually, I'm getting a new thermostat for it because the one I've got is just a temperature thermostat, so I have to turn it up when I first come in, like now, just about half an hour ago. So I'm getting one with a timer on it, so I can get it to switch on a couple of hours before I come in. Anyway, you didn't need to know that, did you? Right, the tape and stuff is because I put some foam rubber under the mudguard to give me the sort of clearance I would like to have, and then the tape is holding it onto that. I've also marked a line down the centre, which as it happened I'm not going to need because that was for putting a single mounting in the centre, and it's not going to be like that. I've also shortened it slightly. It actually came down to about here. So that is where it is on the C15. I think I've shortened that back a little bit because again it came right around here, and I don't like them round there. The throw off is at the back here. You don't really need much at the front, and I think that just looks better. So first of all, I thought of doing it a la C15T, which was from a bracket here going out like that. Because of the different bracket and one or two other things, I thought that wouldn't look very nice. So then I thought I'd just make myself some loops, and that didn't work out very well, because although I have a die that will do me a 180-degree bend the right width as that, what I honestly hadn't taken into account was it was going to be bent like this. You know, this is not a 4.5-inch radius. It's actually, you know, right round here before you get to the radius. So there was a huge gap there. Fitted nicely, but big gap in the middle. So that was bad back. Then I thought, wait a minute, let's go and look in the shed. And what did I find in the shed? I found a B44 mudguard with genuine BSA stays on it. Now of course these are for a 19-inch wheel, so I was expecting to have to lengthen them, but this back one, these fortunately are 5/16 BSF, where they're threaded here. Get that in there. Okay, and that one in the other side. They're going to be painted black. So this one, as you can see, fits in there nicely, right, with the gap and everything. So I don't have to touch that one. But the top one, excuse me, which actually has a little, you see it's not straight above the bolts. Top one is, you know, that one might be alright as well. Let me switch you off so I can move this foam rubber and we'll see if that'll fit. No, I've moved the foam to here. It needs to go, actually it goes on that hole, but it needs to go up whatever that is, about 1/2 inch. So I'm going to have to lengthen these about 1/2 inch. So let's go and do that, and then we'll see if they fit. Then these, I can't get that off now, they have two, there you go, two mounting holes. So I've got the mudguard, which is very similar size to this, so what we'll do is we'll lay the mudguard on the inside of this. I'll mark where they're going to be, and then we can mark where the holes are on the mudguards. And what we'll do to reduce anything sticking down in here, we'll use the button head ones coming through this way, so there'll be very little sticking out on the inside, and we'll put some nice acorn nuts on, nice shiny stainless steel ones, and that'll do that. So let me go and see. I'm hoping this is tube, well it must be tube. It's 7/16 I think, so what I'm going to do is make up a couple of little spacing pieces to lengthen that. So let's go and do that. Now I cut these off and I actually marked them to make sure I know which way it's going. And this is a slightly undersized tube. It's just less than 1/2 inch and it's thick walled, so I couldn't really make sleeves, and it's only 1 inch. So what I've done is I've turned up 2 extension pieces. So they're just on 1 inch each, and I've made them so they're a tight fit. So what we'll do is we'll knock them into those, and that'll hold them together. Take it over and offer it up to the bike, and if everything's right I can just weld them up. Well, there they are all put together. So this goes in that way. I think I can just squeeze it in that, like that. That looks pretty good. What I might do, I think, is actually tack this while it's on here to make sure everything is in the right place. There's a little one, there it is. Put a couple of nuts on here. And that's how our 2 mudguard stairs are going to go on. So as I say, I think what I'll do is bring the welder over and just tack these like that, and then there's no chance of them twisting and getting out of line when I move them over to the welding table. Just tack them. Now I'll give this proper clean up and weld it. These are fine. So I'll do that. I'll take the mudguard off. Oh, okay. We know where we want. Let me get in front for a second. We know where we want our mudguard to be. Look. I'll mark that so that I know for the holes. And that could be there. I think that's a good spot for that. Just nicely far enough up. Excuse me again. Right, let me go and get the welder, tack them, weld them up, and then we'll see about drilling some holes in the mudguard. So there's the extended piece. See, I put pieces in, they've ground the weld out and just burnished them back. So what I'm going to do to save putting things together and taking them apart is I'm going to paint these, and then we'll take the wheel out, put the mudguard stays on, and then I can just pop the mudguard onto it, get it where I want it, and mark underneath through the stays, drill the holes, put the bolts in, which will be easier to get at, and then we'll put the wheel back in. So while I'm doing painting, let's do something else. While the various stages of the paintwork is being done for the mudguard stays and actually the seat pan, I thought I'd do these few little electrical things. So I've put an extra wire onto the earth one that's going right back to the power pack, and that's going round down to here, just under there. And let me switch on the continuity. There we go. So there we've got our you hear it? So there's earth there, and I'm going to touch this to the handlebars. So we've got a good connection right through from the handlebars into that earth going back. Alright, and I've swapped over, as mentioned. Ooh, come on. Swapped over to the green, which is apparently the earth. The other two, of course, don't matter, because this dip switch doesn't have a thing that says high or low. It's just 2 positions, so whichever position is which, that'll be fine with that. So let me put this back together again, and then we're going to look at the rear brake light switch. I haven't looked in the parts book to see if this is the correct brake stop light switch, but the Heller ones were used on a lot of the bikes then, so very well could be. But the thing about them that I don't like is they have, the mounting is through this thing here, and basically they go in there, just two pins, you see. That's so this can pivot when the brake rod moves up and down, and then this thing just clamps around the swinging arm, and you have a spring on it, and the other end's got a little clamp that goes on the brake rod. So this thing to me really looks nasty. I never have liked them. So what I always do is take them off, and it's a decent sized hole in there. That's a number 8, I think, which is whatever size it is, I don't know. So it'll pivot on that, and what we're going to do is we're going to make a little plate, and that plate will bolt onto one of the lugs on the swinging arm, and then that can pivot on that end of it, and then we'll make up, you can see how horrible that I had to cut it off actually to get it off. We'll make up a little piece to mount it to the actual brake rod. So let's go and see about making a plate for this. I'll put the brake pedal on, and this is on there so we can get an idea where the brake rod goes. So the brake rod is going to go like that. Can I get that in there? I just can't make it. Anyway, the brake rod's going to go there. So we've got a nice handy thing here. These are the 2 wires. what I've done the switch. So we could either mount the switch here, or we could mount it there. I guess that's the best place. That's where it would have been. Those straps would have gone round there. And then we can have it pointed slightly that way. Yeah, that'll just nicely miss that. And then we put a little clamp on here. You probably can't see it from here, but that other clamp has actually worn into there. So I'll build that up with a little bit of weld and make it round again. And I'll give this a quick coat of black just so it doesn't rust again. So there's what we want. We want a piece of plate just like that. So let's make up our little cardboard template as usual. Oh, actually here I probably don't need it. I can just measure how long it needs to be and how wide. And might cut that out of a piece of stainless steel. Yeah, I think that would be good, stainless steel. Alright, let me go and do that. I've made the little plate, slight bend in it. So let's, oh, I keep forgetting that. I'm not going to tighten this up because I still need to take the wheel out when the sprocket arrives, which should be this week actually. So that's going to go on there. Like thusly. And that can go on there. Maybe I should put that on there before I... Oh, there it goes. There it goes. And that's going to go on there like that, and that'll swivel. I'll tighten all this up shortly. And then our spring will go on there. And we're all set. Good, that's another job jobbed. So we'll put the oil tank and stuff on. Hang on, you might be a little bit far away there. Yeah, it's probably better. So the first thing I'm going to put in is the centerpiece, because I need to put this switch in and I can't do that with the oil tank on. So we'll put the 2 bolts in at the top, and then there's a couple that go in at the bottom. Let me see. That goes there like that. Oh, there somewhere. There you are. Now I've lost the bolt. Just put the bloody thing down. There it is. Put that in there. Then we have a couple of small ones at the bottom here. Goes inside this little lip. There we go. Goes on there. This is fiddly. Oh. Do you know what? I find that when things are fiddly like this, if I close my eyes, I can do it better. Now, isn't that strange? Right, let me put the other couple of bolts in, and then we'll put the light switch in. That's got 3 bolts in, 2 at the bottom, 1 at the top, because this one actually goes into the oil tank. So here we have our switch. That's the flap. Done with making that orange jump lead a fraction longer. That's it. What size is that, I wonder? What size is that? And so we don't lose it, there's the key. Alright, so there's the whole lot in there, very nicely. Now we can put the oil tank on, and that's going to be a bugger with the electrics to get at the bolts, so hold on. Well, this might prove a little difficult, but so I've put the oil line on because I think that will go. Does that go that way? I can get the other ones on from the top. That one, so there's a slot there. It goes on there. Bottom stop piece. Let's see, it's the shorter one that goes in the top. This is going to be an absolute bugger. I can't see got it. Right. Now, if you thought that was difficult, I don't know if I can get the one in there from the other side with a long extension. So let me try that. Well, I got it on, but you missed all the excitement because I was getting this bolt in and I finally got everything done, and then I got my hand stuck. So it took a little while and a little cursing, but as you can see, I've got it back out. Alright, so that's that. I haven't put the one on the other side yet because still got a little bit of fiddling on to do over there, and we're going to look to see how we're going to put the air filter. But there's a couple of little dust mites in that I missed. They might just polish out while it's on there. Alright, so very good. Right, that's it for today and tomorrow, but the day after, which will be Saturday, the front mudguard stairs will be, the paint will be nicely cured and everything, so we can put them on, and hopefully I'm going to do the saddle as well. So we'll see you on Saturday. There's the mudguard stairs on, and mudguard to our marks. Right, that's where I want it to be. Check that it looks to be centered. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to mark the front ones, and then I'm going to check to see how they are on a center in there, because you can see, just hold them like that, they're a little bit off, but I know where they want to be here, so I'll get those marked, drill them, We'll put a couple of bolts in and then we'll mark up the back. There's that with a couple of bolts in there. So now we'll just put this in here. Right, I'll go and drill them and then we'll bolt it on. There it is, on with the wheel back in. I actually had more space under here than I thought, so rather than put acorn ones on here, which would have been the only acorn ones on the bike, so they look slightly odd, I've put ordinary button ones in and put the nuts underneath. So I think that all looks very nice. Right, I'm jumping backwards and forwards here. I'm not even sure how this is going to go into the edit of this video, but that's done. Now I'm going to see if I can finish the saddle off. Alright, the oh, that looks a bit small actually, hang on. There we go. Alright, the last thing I'm hoping to get this week is to do the saddle. Now I can get a C15T saddle for just over $300. That seemed a little excessive to me, seeing as I just forked out for the electronic ignition, and that alpha bearing wasn't cheap, and I still have to buy a new chrome tank. So anyway, I looked and I decided I'd do what I did with the Yamazaki, which has a B50 seat, and I got a cover, which was $60. So that was better than $300. And then I noticed they had foams for $50, so I got one of those as well. But as you will notice, I know the foam has to be large and it squishes up, but you can see that's just simply the wrong shape there, completely. So, you know, look at that shape compared with that shape. So I wasn't best pleased with that. I mean, the foam's done with the foam and it's got the stuff over the sides to make it all look nice, but you know, it's just so different a shape. Anyway, next thing was the base. Now I was going to make a base again out of aluminium like I did last time, and then it suddenly struck me that this was very much standard BSA. So I rummaged around amongst a couple of old seat bases and I found one which was just the right length and the width back here. It was a little wide at the nose and of course it was too long. So I cut the nose in, shortened it, welded new pieces on. So there's our base. And our base, hang on, I'm running out of places to put things. The base I made to be the same as that. Alright, it's the same length, slightly narrower right at the back, but that will be fine. Now, for the pieces at the back, the seat being slightly shorter, the mountings are a little bit behind, so I put new bolts in and put them at an angle. Now I've put that foam in here and it really doesn't fit. I'm going to try again and see what happens when I offer it up to the base. So let me switch you off while I struggle with that, and then I'll bring you back when I've decided whether I need to cut some off the foam. Well, I got it in, but as you can see, there's, you know, it's not into there right. It's not into there right. I can get it to fit along the sides, but the two ends, I put it in once before and left it in the hope that it would, you know, the cover would force the foam into a shape. So it's you know, this is one of these things that you watch an upholsterer do it, and it's just no problem. You know, I'd take something like this to them that I'd struggle with for an hour, and in 2 minutes they've got it all fitted and stretched out right. That's gone in there a bit better. But the next thing, of course, is how much is forcing that in there change the shape of it compared to this. Now you see, I've got to get it in the front, I've got to press the foam down, I've got to do 6, you can see there how it's, I think you can anyway, look how it's forced the sides out. So I've got to get them back in. Alright, let me persevere. Well, there was no way that was going to go in there, or not with me working on it anyway. So what I've done is I've overlaid this, and as I was trying to get it in, the main problems were these back corners, because you can see there they have rounded corners and that doesn't. So I marked them to rounded corners, and it was the same at the front. The front is rounded, but this wasn't. I mean, it's square. So I am going to cut. These are quite sort of generous ones. They're not actually on the line. They still give me some squish. So I'm going to cut these off with, well, it's almost like a bread knife, and I've been sharpening it. So let's see how easily that will cut. Oh, yeah, that's cutting nicely. All right. Obviously this is a slowish process, so I'll cut the front first. Right, that's them cut off. Let's just see if it goes into the nose any better. I think that feels better. Put this down on the sides. Yeah, that's filling that much better. Alright, I'm going to do the back end, and then I'll put the cover back on. Well, I think that's looking a bit better. I'm still working on it, but it's filled that more. It's filled this better. I don't know whether it's helped at all with this. This was a real bugger. See, it just seems incredibly wide. I was thinking when I was trying this last time, it's a little bit like putting a tyre on, isn't it? So I got myself a little wooden tyre lever. And this must be boring to watch. Although watching someone else struggle is always very therapeutic, isn't it? I'm trying with this to get down into there. That's coming out the front, you see. Oh. No, let me give this some more looking at. Alright, nearly there. I trimmed a little bit off the nose because it struck me that some of the bulge at the side was because it was slightly long, so when I was forcing it into there it was pushing sideways, so that helped. Then I took a little bit off the side and that helped. So I've basically got it in and it looks pretty good, but there is the problem. I haven't actually made this base curved enough. So I'm going to have to cut a piece off this, which is a bugger because as you can see I painted it. I've got to cut a corner off each side, weld another piece in, and actually I might just aerosol black that too, so it doesn't rust, because that's basically all it's painted for, rust protection. So let me put that back on there, get my white marker so I can mark where the corners want to be cut, and I'll cut them off and weld the new pieces in, and then we'll go from there. Well, there's that done. So we now have, I think, a curve which should, because I drew it from the pattern, that should be fine. So that's all welded in and vanished out and everything. Just shows not only did I have to do that, which I now have to paint it, but I just got started and the battery went in my self-darkening helmet, so I've had to do it with the old, put everything close to and nod. So that's not too bad. So let me just spatter a bit of black on this to protect the metal, and then we'll see if we can get the, well, let's try the cover. Hold on. See, this is Saturday afternoon, I'm almost running out of time. So, where's my nice cloth? Well, it's not particularly nice, but it's at least a cloth. You see that? Yeah, it's a bit better. Alright. That into the front. Well, to use our tyre analogy, it seems to be much better down into the well. We're getting further round before it's starting to get tight. Oh, I think that was the front just popping out, but hang on. Chop that in. Yep. I know my arm keeps getting in front there, but can't be helped. Much better. There, look. There, look at that. Not quite perfect, but good enough for work. No, that'll come out nicely. So let me go and put some black paint on this. Well, while I've been waiting for that paint to dry, the postie came, and here's my new sprocket. And you remember it was the first time I used the forgot the name of it, the rotary table. Perfect size on there, and the 6 holes went straight in. So not only did I get the brake drum right, but as per usual, sprocket specialists over in California, as I say, as long as you tell them right, you'll get a perfect sprocket, and that's spot on. So that's really nice. Now let me go and check this paint, and if it's dried out, I've actually got it sitting on a heater, then we can try and put the saddle together. Well, here goes. I've got my little clips ready. And a little hammer for them. Oh, hang on, I want to put some tape around the edge of that. There we are. Just some tape right around the edge so we don't have the metal edge. Okay. In you go. Wood here. on. You know what, I know you're supposed to cut it in this end first, but I think it's going to go in there easier. Yeah. A bit more to get a grip of. Okay. Oh, there's my shoulder clicking there. Right. Feels nice. But this foam's going to need squishing down to get my edge to there. Let's get right. Right, let me see if I can put a couple up here. One. Okay. Right, now all I'm going to do is press this in and put those things on all the way around, which of course is going to be easier said than done. So I'll bring you back in well, hopefully just a few minutes. I thought I'd show you putting the last few on. Actually, once I got the front and back done, it was a lot easier to squish it. So and there, that. I'm going around in between ones now. Pull it tight, get it on. And there we are. Not bad at all. Okay, let's go and see what it looks like on the bike. Now, as I mentioned, the actual mountings, the seat is slightly short, so where the mountings were, I didn't have enough room to put this piece on. So that goes at a slight angle, and I notice it does on the original bike. So these little things underneath, there's a bar across there that they're going there. That's why I used the standard saddle, because I knew that would fit like that. Then, what I need to know now, my final little job, is just how big a spacer to put in to lift this up. Actually, like that is nice. So all I'm going to do is measure that little gap and make up a couple of spaces and then bolt it on. So, tell you what, I don't like that. And on the picture of the trials bike, there isn't a big gap. Now, I know the guys who modded the trials bikes, one of the things they did do was cut this off here, cut that couple of inches off and lower that to, you know, sort of make it a more competitive machine. But I found a picture of a 59, same as this, with that eyebrow tag thing on, and there is that big gap. So I guess for later models they must have moved this up or whatever, but that's the way it is. So I might make a little piece to go in there before we're finished. It's also one of those things that looking at it like this, you see it, but when this is down on the floor and you're looking down at it, it won't be as noticeable. But anyway, that's the saddle done. Front mudguard in, that sprocket on, great. So I mean, the couple of minor little things, handlebar levers, bits and pieces, backlight, but they can all be done as we go along. Big thing is next week we'll start doing the engine, and then we'll get the bottom half of the engine in, and hopefully by then we'll have got the valves sorted out. Oh, did I tell you that after lots of measurements and parts books and things like that, they're B40 valves that are in. So I've just ordered a pair of B40 valves, and we'll have to see how well they fit and what have you. But anyway, that's it for this week. So you all stay safe and enjoy yourselves.